Molly and the Lighthouse by Malachy, Doyle and Andrew Whitson. The lighthouse was one of Molly's very favourite things on the whole island. All night long the brightness of its beam kept her company, going round and around, whatever the weather. 1, 2, 3, Molly counted, and by the time she got to 17, somehow it was always 17, there it was again, lighting up the room, and lighting up the shelf where her little doll Megan slept. But one night Molly woke, and something was wrong, very wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, she began, but when she got to 17, there was still no light. 18, 19, 20, Molly carried on, just in case. By the count of 30, she was over by the window, and the village was dark, the harbour was dark, the sea was dark, and the lighthouse, she could barely see it. "Dylan, wake up!" cried Molly, for her best friend was staying over, while his mother was off the island. "The lighthouse isn't flashing!" "Then look," she said, pointing, for out there on the darkened sea, Molly had spotted one tiny light, the light of their father's little red fishing boat. "They won't be able to tell where the sharp rocks are," gasped Dylan. "Our dads won't be able to find a safe way back into harbour." "Wait here, children," said Molly's mum, when they woke her and told her. "I'll go down to the harbour wall and make a fire to guide them back in." "Yes, but what about old Jamesy?" asked Molly, who was fond of the lighthouse keeper. "He'd never let the light go out. There must be something wrong." "You're right," said her mum. "Someone needs to check he's okay." "We'll go, won't we, Dylan?" said Molly. She grabbed Megan, her little doll, and down the wooden steps they ran till they came to the rickety walkway that led to the lighthouse. "You'll be okay, Dylan," said Molly. "Just follow me." The sea splashed up and over their boots, but they kept on going. They had to. 10, 20, 30, 40, Molly counted as they climbed the narrow steps round and around to the very top of the lighthouse. At last they reached the control room, but the massive light that should have been shining on the whole world all around was dark, completely dark. There was no sign of her mother's fire down on the harbour wall, and all Molly could make out on the cold sea below was a pinprick of light from their father's boat. But where was it now? Was it closer to the rocks? Molly knew that she and Dylan had to get the beam of the lighthouse back on, and quickly. But how? "Over here!" came a faint cry. It was old Jamesy, collapsed on the floor. "What happened?" cried Dylan, running over. "Never mind me, boy. Pull the lever," wheezed the keeper. "Yes, but which one?" said Molly. "There's loads of them." But old Jamesy had fallen silent. And then she spotted it, high above her, a big, red, heavy-duty one. "That's it," cried Molly, pulling a chair over. "It must be." She stood on the chair, but it still wasn't high enough. "We're running out of time, Dylan. Pass Megan up." Molly flung the little doll at the lever. Megan somehow wrapped her floppy arms around it. Molly tugged and tugged her, but the switch wouldn't budge. "We need to pull harder," cried Dylan, grabbing hold of Molly's boots. So Dylan pulled Molly, Molly pulled Megan, Megan pulled the lever, and crash! Everyone hit the floor with a mighty thud. Molly saw a blinding flash as the magnificent light above them came back on, flooding the world inside and out with brightness. And then her eyes closed. Molly, are you all right?" It was her mother with Dylan and Nurse Ellen. "Mummy, how did you..." Brave little Dylan ran back to get us, her mum told her, helping her up. But well done. If it hadn't been for you two getting the light back on, I don't know what might have happened. And little Megan, she's the real hero, said Molly. But what about Dad and Dylan's dad? They're just coming into harbour now, said her mother. Let's go down and meet them. And what about old James? He asked Molly as they started back down the spiral staircase. Is he okay? He must have passed out for a bit, wheezed the lighthouse keeper from above, but I'll be fine. You need to rest, Jamesy, they heard Nurse Ellen telling him. No more steps for a few weeks, I'd say. 347, muttered Molly. Steps, she added with a smile. You and your counting girl, said her mum, laughing. The harbour, when they got there, was lit by the warm glow of the fire that Molly's mother and the other villagers had built. And there was the little red fishing boat with all three fathers of the island on board, chugging into port safe and well. Dad, cried Dylan. My daddy, yelled Molly. Safely back in bed, as the cheery beam of the lighthouse swept past the window, Molly found herself counting the gaps between the flashes again. 14, 15, 16, and at 17, always 17, it lit up her room, her bed, her doll, and her sleepy smile.